I used to think it was kind of cool to be bad at maths. And I think that probably migrated into a form of financial irresponsibility. And by that, I mean that I've had times in my life when I've been skint in a very middle-class way. By middle-class skint, I mean I could always phone home and get a little bit of help. Not like pay off my mortgage kind of help, but, I'm £1,000 shy for my wedding, Dad. I don't know quite how that happened. Can you help me out? That kind of help. Or, I haven't been paid this month. Something's gone wrong at payroll, or I forgot to invoice. I'm actually not going to be able to meet my rent at the end of the week. Can you help me out until next week when I pay you back? That kind of middle-class skint, where there's nowhere. It's not middle-class skint, but it's comfortable family skint, comfortable-ish family skint. I have that. I've had moments in my life where I've got to the checkout at the supermarket and my card's been rejected and I'm standing there with a trolley full of food, which is always embarrassing. I just popped to the car, I've got another one in the glove compartment, and then you run and you leg it out of the shop at full speed. And that's through bad management. That's not through any particular penury. Very struck whenever we talk about matters financial by how little I know about other people's lives, and in many ways how little they know about anybody else's. And then along comes the budget. Let me get one observation out of the way first. I don't think this constitutes a phone-in. But, I mean, it's not that long ago that I opened up the government supporting newspapers, the government propaganda outlets like the Mail and the Express and the Telegraph. And they were telling me that Liz Truss's mini budget, do you remember her? The one with the lettuce and Kwasi Kwarteng? Anyone seen him lately? I read a wonderful article this morning questioning whether or not he's told his wife that he's not Chancellor anymore. Or does he just tour around on the Jubilee line with his sandwiches in a briefcase and then come home pretending that he's had a tough day, stimulating growth and cutting taxes? He's managed to keep his wife away from the news. And she still thinks he's at work. But you remember them, right? It's not that long ago. Kwasi Kwarteng, Liz Truss, mini budget, and every paper you opened at the time was telling you this was the future. At last, said the Daily Mail, a true Tory budget. This is the finest budget of my life, said someone in the Daily Telegraph. This is brill, said nobody, but that was the general tone of the headlines. And now today, exactly the same people are writing their analyses, their expert analyses of the budget. Could we just pause for a minute and think about that? Imagine if, do you remember that bloke who turned out for that football club because somebody thought he was somebody's cousin? And he got put on. He was absolutely pants and he got taken off again. It's kind of it's a football legend. And then there was that lovely bloke who was sitting in the foyer at the BBC and someone came in and said a name and he said yes and he got ushered straight into the studio. His name will come to me in a moment. I look at that video. I don't know if you have a little bank, 3 or 4 videos that if you need to laugh, they are guaranteed laughter. There's a look on that chap's face that the finest actor in the world could not replicate. I don't think Ian McKellen or Derek Jacobi or Kenneth Branagh or Emma Thompson or Judi Dench or Maggie Smith. That's why I said Denth. I was thinking ahead to Maggie Smith. So I thought halfway through that little bit of the show, I haven't mentioned any women yet. Someone's going to have a go. And also, pick the finest actor in the country. I think Judi Dench, Maggie Smith, going to be edging out the blokes quite possibly. But I digress. Guy Goma. So he's sitting in the foyer at the BBC to pick someone up. He was there for a job interview. And so they said a name. I think it sounded a bit like his. So he put his hand up, came along. And the next thing you know, he is sitting in the studio being asked about Apple Corps' legal action against the record label. Apple Computer's legal action against Apple record label or something like that. And he tries to style it out. He sits there, Guy Goma, and he tries to style it out. And there's this beautiful look. You can see the inner 6-year-old. And the footballer was called Weir. You're right. I think they thought he was George Weir's cousin. You could see his inner 6-year-old, couldn't you? There's a little cheeky smile. There will be a phone-in, but it's the budget, and I'm just trying to postpone it. There's this little cheeky smile on his face where he goes, uh-oh, uh-oh. You look it up, seriously, Guy Goma. If you've never seen it, thank me later. Now, imagine if they got him back the next day for another, expert insight into something that he knew. Because that's what they're doing now at the Telegraph and the Mail and and the rest of them, the people who told you that Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss were fiscal geniuses who were finally delivering upon the ideological goals that have been pursued in this country by secretly funded think tanks and weirdos on newspapers for the best part of 30 years, they're still doing it now. They're writing the analysis of yesterday's budget. The same names, the same newspapers, the same people. That's like the weird bloke, the footballer who came on, couldn't play at all, got taken off again. Imagine if they put him in the starting 11 next week. It wouldn't happen in any other line of work. If you soiled yourself so spectacularly, as a bloke in the Telegraph called Alistair Heath. Now, the competition on the comment pages of the Daily Telegraph is stiff, right? But he was practically writing love letters to Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng after their so-called mini-budget. It fell apart after bringing the entire national economy to the brink. And these people are still writing articles. They're still, all those people, all those Herberts at the laughably titled Institute of Economic Affairs, where everybody is head of something. You can't work there unless you're head of something. I don't know how much attention you pay to these people unless they're trying to bring an Ofcom complaint against me and humiliating themselves on the national stage in the most delightful and hilarious fashion. But they're all head of something. Head of babby washing, head of paper clips, head of this, head of that, head of the other. They're still being booked. The Liz Truss mini-budget was their mothership. It was their Millennium Falcon. It was their absolute Shangri-La. Love the kinks. It was their Shangri-La. And it happened. It fell apart faster than you can say Liz Truss lost to a lettuce. But they're all still there writing about the budget. And I don't understand. It would be like Guy Gomer being brought back next week to share more of his insights into a subject he knew nothing about. Ali Dia, I think. He said he was George Weah's cousin and Souness put him on for Southampton. It would be like Souness putting Ali Dia on as a substitute, watching him fall over his own shoelaces, taking him straight back off again, looking into his CV, finding out he had no particular football background at all. It was just the mother of all scams. And he thought, oh, that looks good. I'll put him in the starting 11 on Saturday. So all of these people, everywhere you turn, all of these so-called economic experts, we talk a lot about how the country has been somewhat bent by Brexit. And it's bigger than Brexit, isn't it? It's the ecosystem that allowed Brexit to happen. Idiots being treated like experts. Jacob Rees-Mogg being treated like an intellectual. Nadine Dorries being put in the cabinet. All of these things create an environment in which nothing makes sense. And rarely is that clearer. A lot of you discovering that video for the first time now. Don't get distracted. Don't go down a YouTube rabbit hole. Stay with me. Come on, stay with me. Got to do this together. I don't really know what it all means. And I can't trust the experts because they told me Liz Truss was a genius. I can't trust the analysis in the newspapers because they told me Kwasi Kwarteng was the future. Look, can I ask you a really silly question? Is that all right? Thank you. Has anyone's... No. I always come out of Tory budgets better off than I went in, right? I couldn't give you the exact details. That little mini-budget, I could tell you, because they talked about actual tax rates and income, and I'm doing little sums in my head that weren't very complicated, and I think I was 20 or 30 grand a year better off. And I sat here thinking, that's just outrageous. How can you be looking after me? Kwasi, Lizzie, how can you be looking after me when we've got warm banks springing up in this country and food banks? Yesterday's budget was a bit like that. You know, great news for the 1%, not particularly good news for everybody else. And I can't work out. I did a quick straw poll upstairs. Most of my colleagues are quite a lot younger than me. But I did a quick straw poll about, does anyone actually do any sums? Now, you know some people do. Some people have got spreadsheets. I kind of admire them. I didn't used to. That's how I opened, by talking about how I used to think it was cool to be a bit ignorant, a bit aloof. And you're going to be working out, well, we're going to have this and we're going to pay that. But if you're close to running out of money or you're absolutely dedicated to shoveling into your pension, you're probably watching the pennies in the knowledge that the pounds will look after themselves. But I just think about beer a lot, actually, but particularly on budget day. And pasties. Do you remember the pasties? I don't know, really, whether I'm the target audience for cuts in a pasty tax or 11p duty on a pint, and not that necessarily gets passed on to the punter. And to be honest, under my glorious rule, I'd rather the publican kept it because pubs are closing at a rate of knots. So please play with me today. All right, I'm going to ask you a question. It's 10:17. What's the best thing that a budget has ever done for you? 0345 6060973. Let me just, there's like one newspaper. Let's just pick one newspaper. You know which one I'll pick. I always pick the same newspaper when we're doing this. No, I can't. I haven't brought it with me. So you open up a newspaper and you've got page after giveaway for the 1% is the front of the Guardian. Giveaway for richest 1%, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7. Page 8, page 9. This bit's quite useful. This is a nice cartoon breakdown of what it means for you. Every newspaper is the same. The Mail is the same. The Times is the same. It's you get to page 10 before you get a story that's not about the budget. And I don't know who it's aimed at. Rari points out that I was actually at the Sausage Roll Awards not long ago. I'm clearly the target audience for pasty tax cuts. It's a very good point you make. That's the question, all right? And it's a serious way. It's a silly way of getting into a serious subject. What's the best thing a budget has ever done for you? Because the more sums you do, the more grown up you are. And I mean that in a good way. The more grown up you are, the better it will be for you to answer that question. The easier it will be for you to answer that question. What is the best thing that a budget has done for you? And I'm very conscious that my complacency is borderline obnoxious, by the way. If I was worried about meeting my bills or anything like that, I'm sure I wouldn't be this relaxed about everything. But I did a quick straw poll in the office, and hardly anyone does sums. Hardly anyone makes actual calculations. You just wait to see, don't you, what the new cloth looks like, and then or what the new body looks like, and then you cut your cloth accordingly. So what is the best thing that a budget has ever done for you? And you